What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Sierra Monet. We got a little story time for today. Today we're going to talk about SSRI withdrawal. Specifically, my withdrawal from Lexapro and Prozac. And disclaimer, before I start, I do want to say this is not in any way, shape, or form demonizing the use of SSRIs. If you are currently utilizing an SSRI and it is working for you, great. That is awesome for you. But I am talking to the people who have been on SSRIs, who have gone through the withdrawals, who have gone through all of the symptoms, and I just want you to know that you're not by yourself. Okay? Okay. All right. So let's rewind this back. It's 2026, right? Let's rewind this all the way back to 2022.
Oh, let's rewind this back.
Okay. 2022, I had just came out of 2-year stretch of homelessness. So this was a time where I was supposed to be recalibrating my life. I had just been rehomed, gotten a new home, started a new job, and was just supposed to be living my life. Life is golden, right? Okay. But that did not happen, unfortunately. So on the brink of being rehomed, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, and I also went through my SSRI withdrawal. So needless to say, that first year was, heaven on earth, honey. Not really. But I want to talk to you guys today about this because I feel like, again, I want to bring some awareness to the other side of SSRIs. I feel like a lot of people love to come out here and tell you about the upsides of taking Lexapro and taking Prozac, and how I hear so many girls say, oh my God, take Lexapro, it's so great for you. But you never hear anybody talk about the bad sides to prescription drugs and what it can actually do to you. So again, scrolling back to 2022, so I had just gotten rehomed, got diagnosed with Graves' disease, and I'm starting medication for Graves' disease. So I'm trying to get the Graves from overactive to underactive, right? We're trying to get it back to a normalized state of being. And during this process, I started to have very, very, very bad panic attacks. If you know anything about Graves' disease, you will have panic attacks almost every day. It's just one of those things. And anxiety is always high. You're always running. You're always feeling like your body is just in overdrive, right? So during this process, until my medication got to a point where it was calming down my nervous system, I could not take the anxiety. Couldn't take it. So I ended up telling the doctor, like, hey, I'm feeling very, very anxious. And for some reason, my anxiety has come back very, very vicious this time around. So I wanted to see if I could get on another dosage of SSRIs. Because mind you, take you back to 2016, I had already taken SSRIs before. So I'm no stranger to this. This was not a new thing for me. In 2016, I took Celexa and Prozac. And I will tell you that I didn't like them then, but I didn't have the experience that I had this time around. So, Celexa really did not, I didn't like Celexa. A lot of people do well with Celexa. I did not do well with Celexa. Again, you have to think about everybody's biology is different. So, what may work for somebody else may not work for somebody else. And my doctor tend to go with bloodlines because I have other people in my family who are depressives and anxieties, things of that nature. We went with the same bloodline, and to say, okay, did this person do well with this? If this is like your direct family member or like your immediate family member, if they did well with this, then 9 times out of 10, your biology will do well with it. So I got on Celexa. Did not have a good time with Celexa in 2016. It made me very, very emotional. I felt psychotic. I felt very moody. I was very moody all the time. And I would cry at nothing. So that was not my personality. Didn't like it. So I told the doctor, hey, not doing too well with this. Can we change it up? Doctor puts me on Prozac. And I do very well with Prozac. I was on Prozac for, I think, I want to say 2 or 3 months before I was like, I don't like this either. I'm coming off SSRIs. And I didn't like Prozac because Prozac made me feel like a robot. I was emotionally blunted every single day. I hated it. And sexually, I didn't do well with Prozac. So came off of it, and then I went on a 7-year stretch of smoking marijuana. Enjoyed that. Life was great. Can't complain. I am not here to promote drugs either. But I just have to say, I have to be honest and be real and say what worked for me. And that is what worked for me. I didn't have anxiety for 7 years because I was smoking ganja every day. Well, needless to say, before I got diagnosed with Graves, I had a really bad panic attack when I was smoking ganja. So my brain made a whole thing about it, and I stopped smoking ganja that day. Even though I don't believe it was the marijuana that made me have the panic attack. It was just like after 7 years of smoking, I finally started having panic attacks after I smoke a blunt. It's just crazy. So, needless to say, I stopped doing that. This is all around the same time, mind you. So, I stopped smoking marijuana May of 2022. I get on escitalopram July of 2022. So I started taking escitalopram, which is Lexapro, in 2022, and I would say the first week of me taking escitalopram, my lower body, and I don't know if anybody else has had this experience, but my lower half was extremely numb. I would take escitalopram right before bed. That was what I was told to do, so that's what I did. And I was only on like 5 to 10 milligrams. I think it was 5 milligrams. I would take that at night right before bed. And when I say I had the worst numbness down below, I felt like my legs were literal dead weight. So that was the first symptom. Didn't think too much of it. I was like, well, maybe this is just the beginning, maybe it'll pass. It's something that'll pass, right? So we keep going. And after the first week, the numbness and all of that stuff kind of tapered off. And then we start to have a second symptom introducing itself. And that is suicidal thoughts. So I'm like, okay. And all of this is right before bed. Mind you, I take Lexapro before I go to sleep. So I'm up. Normally I'm down to bed about 11. I'm on 11er. I'm going to bed at like 11. I'm up until 2 o'clock in the morning because my brain is telling me to harm myself. It's literally telling me to harm myself. Now, thank God I have a strong mind, a strong willpower, because if I had been anybody else, I don't think I would have survived that. But I fought back because I knew that the thoughts that I was having were not mine. I knew that they were not real. And I had to continuously let my brain know, baby, this ain't you. We don't do this. This is not how we think. This is not how we move. This ain't us. So I fought back continuously every single night. Started going through that. So I was like, oh, maybe this will pass, again. So I continued to take Lexapro. And the suicidal thoughts, they came every day. Like clockwork. Every day like clockwork. And then probably I want to say after the third week, I was like, all right, we're done. I'm not doing this anymore. My anxiety is getting worse because now I'm starting to have suicidal thoughts and my legs are not working like they're supposed to be working, and I've never experienced this before. I didn't have any of these symptoms before I started this medication, so now I'm pegging this to this medication. And then I started to read the side effects, and these are some of the side effects. So I called the doctor, let them know, like, hey, this ain't working, don't like it, can we change? Doctor says, sure. He looks at my history and said, oh, that's right. I put you on Prozac in 2016. You did well with that, right? I was like, yeah, I did pretty good with that. Okay. We're going to put you back on Prozac. Cool. But you can't start it right now. You got to give it like a week or two downtime, and then you can start the Prozac. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going with it. And needless to say, those 2 weeks were hell. Hell. Okay? And of course he told me I didn't have to taper off because I was on 5 milligrams. I was on the lowest dosage. There was no need to taper off. I just could come off of them. I hadn't been taking them that long, so I shouldn't have had any side effects. Well, you were wrong. What I thought was going to be a normal 2 weeks turned into the 2 weeks from hell. And I don't care at this point what any medical professional says when they talk about withdrawal. And they say, oh, well, you were on it long enough to have withdrawal symptoms. You're a liar. My body went into full withdrawal. I felt like I had just been hit by a bus. Somebody had hit me, backed up, and ran back over me again. That was the first night after quitting Lexapro. So I felt like I had the flu for almost 2 weeks. Like it is a feeling that is undescribable. I felt like I was the walking dead for 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks that jumped off, that was the jump off to 4 years. So, during this time, I'm feeling like I'm having flu symptoms. I'm feeling mad crazy. Like my panic attacks have now escalated. I'm having anxiety every hour on the hour every day. And then we can introduce the brain zaps. Hey, yay! No. I started to have what felt like somebody taking a taser and holding it on the back of my head where my skull and my spine met. If I turned my head the wrong way, I would zap. I will never forget driving one day. I was just running to the store. I think it was running to the dollar store to get something. And I turned my head because I was in a weird turn. It had a blind spot. So I turned my head to look, to make sure I was good. When I found my way out and I was good, I will never forget blacking out behind the wheel. I had a jolt to the back of my head and I passed out behind the wheel. And it was for like a split second. I don't know. Sometimes I think about this and I talk about it and I don't know how I survived it. I really don't. It was nobody but the grace of God. I always say I'm God's favorite because how in the hell did I pass out behind the wheel and I didn't hurt anybody? But it happened. And it was the worst 2 weeks of my life. I didn't sleep. I was constantly jumping out of my sleep. Constantly. When I would try to go down to sleep. You know when your body tries to settle down to sleep? I couldn't settle down because my body was jumping up. So as soon as I would close my eyes and I would get into that drift, I'm jumping out of my sleep like somebody is literally trying to choke me. I would have twitches. So, my shoulders would twitch and, my head would twitch and things like that just on a random. Like I wouldn't have to be doing anything. I would just start twitching. And when it was time for me to go to bed, it would get worse. I would, again, have the brain zaps, the convulsions, the twitches. Again, just feeling very, 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 very sickly. Sleep. I was falling asleep in the middle of the day. Just like at my desk, just falling asleep. And I would say probably because I wasn't getting sleep at night, but I never really ever just like sat at my desk and just fell asleep. I'm falling asleep like a narcoleptic. And it was just, the most terrifying experience. So I'd had enough and I called the doctor and I said, hey, I'm having these symptoms. And he's like, well, it's no way you're having withdrawal because you've only taken 5 milligrams. You didn't take them for, you only took them for 4 to 5 weeks. You shouldn't be having a withdrawal, but you can go ahead and start Prozac. Mind you, I had already spent 3 nights in the hospital because of all of these withdrawal symptoms. But I digress. So here I am, listening blindly again, and I go to take Prozac. Mind you, had a good time with Prozac in 2016. I just didn't like the emotional blunting, so we should be fine, right? So I start Prozac. Everything was good in the beginning. I want to say by week 3 or 4, I start to have pressure behind my eyes. Now, I'm thinking this is coming from Graves' disease, right? Because with Graves, some people do have Graves' eye disease. And I thought that maybe this was happening to me because it's not uncommon for people who have Graves to have Graves' eye. And eye pressure is one of those symptoms, right? I go to the ophthalmologist and they tell me, oh, we've tested your eyes and it appears that your peripheral vision has been blurred. Like it's like your peripheral vision is not as strong as it used to be. And I'm like, okay, so is this normal for me? Well, not for a 30-year-old. It's not normal. Unless you have glaucoma. So I find out that I am starting to have what they call, now I might get it wrong, with angular glaucoma, where the peripheral vision starts to be affected. And that is a symptom of Prozac. The muscle twitches that I had from the withdrawal of the Lexapro got worse as I started to take Prozac. Now, I wasn't twitching anymore before bed. I'm starting to twitch every day during the day. Like, as soon as I start to have an engagement with somebody and I start talking, I'm just twitching. Like, I have Tourette's. So this starts to happen, and this is one of the bad symptoms of Prozac, along with angular peripheral vision, is a bad sign of Prozac. Now, mind you, I'm telling the doctor this. He didn't believe me until the ophthalmologist came back and I showed him the report from the ophthalmologist showing him my visuals. And then he was like, oh, well, these are not good symptoms. You're having a reaction to the Prozac. Let's go ahead and take you off.
Man, watch that.
So, here we are. And I'm coming off of Prozac, so I was told I was safe. I should be fine because I took the Prozac. The Prozac should have helped the Lexapro taper off. So if there's any withdrawal symptoms, they should go away once you come off of the Prozac, because the Prozac tapers itself, right? So even if you don't take any more of the Prozac, your body should still be tapering off the Prozac, and then all of the symptoms should disappear. Well, they lied. That was not my experience. And needless to say, what started as something innocent turned into a 4-year nightmare. It turned into 4 years of trying to sleep. And I was jumping out of my sleep every night like someone was choking me. It turned into constant twitching that was highly embarrassing. When I was in meetings with people and I'm jumping and my body's just twitching and I have to, excuse myself and explain to people why this is happening to me. It was the constant panic attacks every single day. It was the constant trying to just see out of my eyes. My vision is blurry now. Like my vision went from 20/20 to like somebody who has an astigmatism. I don't even know what's going on. Like, this was just a nightmare. And then on top of all of that, right, I'm still having to manage Graves' disease. So I'm here to tell you that if you have taken SSRIs and you have gone through withdrawals and someone has told you that all of the symptoms you're having is in your head, it is not. And you are not by yourself. You are not alone. Okay? You are not by yourself. And you don't have to suffer. the one thing that I found was very interesting, and this was just a few weeks ago, mind you, this is 2026. I was on YouTube per usual, and I found a lecture by a doctor who was speaking on SSRIs, and he was talking about how that unfortunately, even with withdrawal, for some people, withdrawal lasts forever. Your brain chemistry can be forever changed by just that one experience. And it makes me weep for the people who have been on it longer than I was, and was told that I couldn't have withdrawal because I wasn't on it long enough. I don't want to demonize SSRIs, because whoever takes them, if it works for you, it works for you. And I don't want to take away from your experience, and I don't want to frighten you either. I don't want you to be afraid to continue to take the medication that's been working for you. But I also want to advocate for the people who have been through this and have had to fight to get their homeostasis and their life back. SSRIs did not only change my brain, but it changed my gut. I went through food sensitivities. I couldn't eat regular things that I was not allergic to my entire life. My body started to reject after I had gotten off of SSRIs. Literally. I could not eat anything. I think at one point, I could only eat potatoes, broccoli, and veggie patties every day. That was my meal every single night for dinner. And I didn't eat during the day. If I ate anything during the day, I had to drink a smoothie. I couldn't eat anything like oatmeal. For years, I loved oatmeal. I ate oatmeal, blueberries. That was my meal every morning. I'm a fiber girl. I gotta have fiber. So I ate oatmeal every single day. One day I went to eat oatmeal and I had the worst dizziness I had ever had in my life. You would have thought I had ate mold. That's how bad it was. And it did not go away. This dizziness stuck with me for almost 2 months. I had to go get allergy tests done. I had to get my gut checked. I had so many doctor's appointments for so many different things after this SSRI withdrawal. It took living with chronic illness to another level. And I just hope that somebody sees this and they say, thank you that I'm not by myself. Because this was a complete, utter nightmare. And, I just want people to know and understand that just because someone says something is good for you doesn't mean that it's going to work the way that you think it's going to work. Okay. I know I kind of gave y'all like a crash course of my experience, and if y'all want to know more and you want me to kind of go into more detail of the past 4 years and how I kind of had to gradually retrain my brain, rewire my body, my nervous system, and all of those things, I would love to continue this trilogy with you guys and to tell you more about it so that I can help someone else get their life back. I will say this as a disclaimer. I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% because I'm still fighting Graves' disease. But as far as SSRI withdrawal goes, I do believe that I have now hit the curve and I've come around the bend, and I'm kind of back to where I was at my baseline before I took SSRIs. And so, I'm doing better every day and still doing things to consciously rewire my brain and consciously keep my nervous system in check, because I am now on a new fight to put Graves into remission, because it can happen, it can be done, and I don't care what anybody says. I'm no longer listening to what anyone else on the medical spectrum has to say. I know that I can do this and it can be done. So yeah, I just wanted to share my story, let y'all know y'all not by yourselves, And if y'all need someone to talk to, if you need a safe space, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to comment below as well. I will read every single comment as best as I can, and I will respond to you. But I do want to create a community where everybody feels safe, because I got a lot more stories to tell about a lot of different things besides SSRIs that you guys may have been through or may not have been through, and you may feel like you can relate to it. So again, welcome to my life. That's my story, and that's my TED Talk. Bye.